the 5 lies that shows and proves that Reggie Wright was complicit in the death of Tupac Shakur. You might want to get some coffee or tea for this one. Let's get into some of this straight game.
Life is like cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It's your boy Delray Richardson, platinum artist, platinum songwriter, Straight Game TV. I thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button notification. Also, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. And like I always say, if you want to be one of the first people notified when I drop some of the straight game, please do me a favor and click on what appears to be that little bell notification right below this video. I'm going to get right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to show you something today that I think in dealing with the Tupac situation and Tupac being murdered situation that nobody's ever showed you. I'm going to give you a breakdown of the lies that have been told, specifically by Reggie Wright Jr., that not only show that his involvement in trying to cover up what it was that happened, but more importantly, the consciousness of guilt in regards to that, and actually pulling the security off of Tupac. I covered it before, but I got a request to give a little bit more of a detailed breakdown, and I'm gonna give it to you like this. First, the first thing we're gonna deal with is the Michael Moore situation, where Michael Moore heard the got him after Tupac was shot. Michael Moore said that he heard got him over the Nextel radios, right? And I'm going to give it to you like this. So they had Nextel radios. I want you to understand something. So Michael Moore did an interview while he was alive. And he gave just basically a detailed story of what happened. But the one particular point I want you to focus on is where Michael Moore said that it happened. And Michael Moore said that it happened when they were getting into the car, right? But Reggie Wright Jr., he tried to say that if it did happen, listen, if it did happen, he said that it happened while they were in the nightclub, as to offer up an excuse that, well, if it did happen, it happened inside the nightclub and I couldn't hear it because the music was too loud. Instead of just saying, I didn't hear it, he offered up an alibi as to the music being too loud to be able to hear it, when Michael Moore was clear and concise as to where they were when he actually heard it. Michael Moore said, as me and Mr. Wright were about to get into the car to go to the hospital, in relation to Suge and Tupac being shot. I want you to listen to this very closely. Listen to what Reggie says and how he tries to say that it was inside the nightclub, and then listen to what Michael Moore says. Listen.
Can we talk a little bit about the infamous got him thing from Michael Moore, who did security for you?
We were inside of a nightclub, Club 662, when he allegedly heard this over the radio.
Michael Moore, where were you guys?
One of the homeboy securities, you said, got him right before me and Mr. Wright got in the vehicle to go get to the hospital.
You get it? That's lie number one, right? You can see, once again, Reggie Wright Jr. trying to offer up an excuse in dealing with loud music, when Michael Moore clearly said that they were outside of Club 662 about to get into the car. Michael Moore gave more specifics, where they were, what they were about to do, right? Notice Reggie Wright Jr. says he was talking about something when we was inside the nightclub and you know, this kind of more scarce, sparse explanation as to the music being too loud, right? That's lie number one. We know for a fact that Michael Moore was telling the truth, because at the time that Michael Moore said this, Michael Moore didn't need to lie about anything. It was simply what it was and what he had heard. They got him over the radio. And then shortly after that, Michael Moore said he heard somebody say, don't say nothing. Don't speak over the radio. Right? So now, while we're on the Nextel radio situation, right? There was also a video in which Reggie Wright, for the last 20 some odd years, has been saying over and over and over again that the Nextel radios did not have a walkie-talkie feature. I have that also on video, and where he said at the time the Nextel radios couldn't do that, right? Listen.
What he claimed to happen, the Nextel radios weren't even able to do at the particular time.
While I was working at 662, I heard something over the Nextels that we all carry for security, and what I heard was, got him.
But all of a sudden, some 20-odd years later, the truth would finally come out, pointing to Reggie Wright Jr. telling another lie in regards to the Tupac situation, in regards to the murder and the details that led up to Tupac's murder. In the Keefe D grand jury investigation, Reggie Wright Jr. went to testify. And here is the testimony, word for word, in where, in fact, Reggie Wright Jr. admits that the Nextel radio did, without a doubt, have a walkie-talkie feature. Look. You understand what I'm saying? That's another lie in relation and coinciding with the same thing. The Nextel radio got him, right? And the denial that the Nextel radio even had a walkie-talkie feature and where the got him could be heard. So not only was the loud music offered up as in a justification as to not hearing it, but there was a second justification, and that was that the Nextel radios did not have a walkie-talkie feature. This lie had been told for the past 20 some odd years, up until Keefe D was indicted or being investigated by a grand jury, and where Reggie Wright Jr. would go and testify finally to the truth of the matter. That's lie number 2. I hope this resonates with you, because as people who really wanted to know the truth about this situation, listen. And so when you understand that, you'll get into that, right? And you'll delve deeper into what I'm saying in regards to that situation. That's lie number 2. Look how they're intricately interwoven into each other. And 2 excuses. The loud music, oh no, I didn't even have that feature. When both of those were lies. But the next thing that, and this is trying to get an employee to lie for Reggie Wright Jr. because Reggie was not there at the MGM Grand, right? And see, Frank knew what Tupac had told him about Reggie being fired already. So Frank, in his mind, he wasn't really worried about whether he was going to work for Rightway anymore or anything like that. That wasn't the fear that he had had. The fear that he had had was, at that particular time, what he said was he thought something was going to happen to him from that perspective, right? But remember, when it all came down and came to a head, Reggie tried to get Frank to lie and said that Orlando Anderson actually tried to snatch Tupac's chain at the MGM Grand, and that's what led to the fight ultimately at the MGM Grand. So not only did Reggie lie about the Nextel phone, the Gotham statement, but now, shortly after the situation, he's now asking Frank Alexander to lie and said that Orlando did something that Orlando did not do. And because Frank Alexander refused to lie and refused to perjure himself, right? There's tapes in where Frank, was told by Michael Moore that Frank should be in fear for his life. These are facts, y'all. These are facts. Listen. So, even after Frank Alexander's death, you can understand why Reggie Wright Jr. would have so much disdain for Frank Alexander and speaking ill of Frank even after his death, because Frank refused to go along to get along with the lies that Reggie was trying to get him to tell. So not only did he tell 2 lies, he tried to then get Frank Alexander to participate in a 3rd lie, but Frank refused. You see, because Frank knew about the letter of Reggie being fired. So Frank didn't have anything to worry about. And Frank also knew at the time that he was going to be going with Tupac, because Tupac said that he was going to take Frank, one of the security guards, that he was going to take Frank with him when he left Death Row. This is a fact. Gullible John also know that this is true based on the fact that he actually did the interview with Frank Alexander, and Frank telling him that before all of the other stuff came out. Frank was just brutally honest. Listen.
About a week later, my homeboy that I told you was the office manager, he called me up and he said, Frank, you're getting fired. I was like, what? Like, yeah, you're getting fired. I go, what you talking about? Like, man, Tupac just sent a letter. I got it right here. He goes, I'll make a copy of it and give it to you. He goes, but I got a letter right here that he no longer is requesting Rightway security for his security. I was like, are you serious? Like, yeah. So I said, put the letter from you idle in the morning. Yeah, get it tomorrow. I'll give it to you. I read the letter, sure enough. His signature, no longer requested security. So obviously,
is that the same time that he allegedly fired David Kenner as his lawyer?
Yes, absolutely. And I was like, so I ain't got to worry about my job. He's like, no, you going with me, nigga. That's how I knew he was leaving. He personally told me that because I got the letter. I have the letter.
And what month was this all going down?
August. This was August.
You understand what I'm saying? So now you understand why it is what it is in regards to the Reggie situation. And like I told you, Reggie is complicit in the murder of Tupac Shakur by way of negligence, by way of insubordination, and deliberately pulling the security off of Tupac Shakur that night in Vegas, right? Not only that, but then denying what happened after that to cover up whatever it was that he knew at that particular time to be going on in regards to the Gotham statement, in regards to what the Nextel phones could do, right? And now in trying to get Frank to lie and say, well, look, or say Orlando tried to snatch his chain. And Frank was like, nah, because he had already talked to the Metropolitan Police Department and gave them a different statement in regards to what happened at the MGM. Not only that, Frank knew that what had happened was actually on tape. So why would you go and tell a lie, in regards to anything to say that Orlando tried to snatch Tupac's chain? It's on tape what happened. And I guarantee you, in coming up in Keep Me D's trial, we're going to see more We're going to see the actual walk up on Orlando from a different angle in which they didn't show us yet. I guarantee you that. As to when Tupac walked out of the fight, as to when they walked in the same vicinity, all of that. If you ever been to Vegas and you know where that happened at, you'll know what I'm talking about, right? That's lie number 3, or the trying to get someone to participate in the lie and Frank refusing. And that's why Frank has been talked about, is talked about so negatively and disrespectfully by Reggie Wright Jr., even after his death, right? And so when you delve into that, and so, but to make one appear to be in good standing with Tupac, right? It wasn't until Yasmin Fula, because after all of the years of what people thought they knew at the time, it wasn't until Yasmin Fula, Reggie Wright Jr. was being disrespectful and talking crazy about Yasmin Fula, who's a 70-year-old former Black Panther and a woman of substance. He was talking crazy. See, but what he did not know, or what he should have known, or what he did actually know, right? But I don't think that he knew that she had it at that particular time. So what Yasmin Fula did was Yasmin actually released the actual facts that Reggie Wright Jr. was fired. Boom. In black and white, signed by Tupac. You cannot deny it. But in Reggie Wright Jr.'s fashion, he would attempt to. But before it was released, he was denying that he was fired at all, and that him and Tupac were on good terms when Tupac did not like Reggie, period. But when the facts was released, it left, beyond any shadow of a doubt as to what happened, right? Tupac fired Reggie as his personal security because there were people on Reggie's detail, Frank Alexander, Kevin Hackey, who would roll with Tupac, after hours, off of death row time, as operating and moonlighting as his security. Tupac was actually firing Rightway Security Protection Services as his then personal security. He did not want them to work with him anymore from that perspective, right? But in being still hired by death row, Rightway Protective Services was under the direction of Suge Knight and should do what Suge Knight asked him to do when Suge Knight asked him to do it. But just not rolling with Tupac on his personal time. He was firing him from that perspective. So Rightway Protective Services would no longer be receiving a check or any kind of compensation for rolling with Tupac after hours. But they still would be getting paid from Suge in the death row situation, and that would be whether it was protecting Snoop, whether it was protecting Pac, whether it was protecting the Dog Pound, or anybody else, right? Reggie had been denied being fired. Here comes the facts. Boom. He's still trying to deny it. He's still trying to deny it. Why was my security on Pac in New York when they were in New York? Because, in fact, your security was still working for Death Row. And that was a music industry event, which was the MTV Music Awards, right? Okay. You get to Vegas, and remember, he was saying, oh, why was my security on him in Vegas? Actually, the security really wasn't on Tupac in Vegas. Reggie then pulled the security off of Tupac. He couldn't do it in New York because Suge was there. That was a business event. You understand? The music industry event. So therefore, he's getting paid. They had to do their job, right? But see, Vegas was a different thing. Vegas was a different thing, and you have to look at it like this. The reason why Reggie pulled the security off of Tupac was because Vegas was more of a personal thing or a leisure and not business, right? Going to a fight is not anything business related, if you will, right? Going to the fight is more of a personal, entertainment type of deal, whatever. But Suge Knight had said that he had asked Reggie for 5 more security guards that night in Vegas. I want you to focus on this. 5 more security guards that night in Vegas. And so, basically, where's Tupac security? I need 5 more security guards to guard Pac in Vegas. Then Suge said that they sent nobody.
Those guys, if you go back and watch the film, they was already stalking Pac, like watching him. So that just tipped the iceberg when something happened. But there was a plan already to do something to him.
Yeah.
And that's why, like I said, I had 2 of the toughest guys for him, and Reggie pulled them off of me. It didn't have to happen. I told him to send 5 guys from the club to there, and they never sent nobody.
And that it did not have to happen. The situation did not have to happen in Vegas if Reggie would have sent the 5 security guards that Suge Knight requested. But pause. I want you to pause on that one. Let's go back to June earlier that year. We're in September, the night of the fight, but we're going to go back to June, right? Remember, Reggie tried to say that there was a letter that he had received in Tupac firing him in a situation while they were at the House of Blues, and Suge asked him, so Reg, where's Pac's security? And Reggie admits that Tupac just sent him a letter firing him. Listen.
We went to this party. It was the night of the draft on the 1996 draft date. Keyshawn Johnson had a draft party at the House of Blues. And Tupac showed up. And I don't know who he was with. He probably was with Big Syke, Bogart. I don't even know if Bogart was still around yet. But Big Syke and somebody like the chick was like, Reg, where's Pac's security at, man? Where's his security? I was like, that nigga sent me a letter over the day, faxing me, firing me. I don't play no games. That nigga don't want no security on him. Cool. That's less of a headache me trying to find somebody to work. And Suge looked at me and Suge like, we was right there in the middle of the club at House of Blue. I said, Reggie, don't play like that, man. Don't play like that. Pac, number one, he don't pay you no way. He ain't hired you no way. I hired you. I paid him. Don't play like that. So.
Okay, I want you to pause and digest that. There was no letter sent in June. There was no letter sent in June. Reggie tried to confuse everybody by telling that story because the story was out through Frank that Rightway Protective Services was fired because Frank thought he was fired. So Reggie knew the story based on Frank telling it. This is before the facts had actually came out. So it was just a rumor or what Frank was saying because Frank never released the letter, right? So what Reggie was trying to do by telling the House of Blues story was trying to debunk what Frank was saying. Once again, this brings up the anger and the disenchantment with Frank, right? So listen, there was no letter in June, right? Reggie admits that Tupac sent him a letter firing him, right? Listen, and which Reggie said Suge responds, Tupac don't pay you no way, right? All of this happened in Vegas. It did not happen at the House of Blues. There was no letter sent in June. And you know what? I bet you dollars to donuts that Reggie Wright Jr. cannot show us a letter that was sent in June. Because it didn't happen. So what he was referring to was the letter that was sent on August 27th, 1996, approximately 11 days before Tupac was shot in Las Vegas. Hence, the security being pulled off of Tupac, Suge actually having the conversation that he was talking about having involving the security and where's Pac's security, right? And Reggie saying, well, he sent the letter to me firing me 11 days before the Vegas situation. You get it? He sent the letter firing me. Reggie admitted to that. Reggie admitted to Tupac sending him the letter and him knowing about the letter, right? It didn't happen in June. It happened on August 27th, 1996. So the whole conversation that Suge had with Reggie in regards to where's Pac security, Reggie saying that Tupac sent the letter firing him, right? And Suge telling Reggie that, well, you know, Pac don't pay you no way. So don't be doing that, blah, 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 right? That happened in Las Vegas. When Suge say send 5 more security guards and Reggie didn't send them. You understand that? Because Reggie's explaining, you know, the letter, which was the 27th. We know that, right? Suge is saying the night in Vegas, he asking for 5 more security guards. It couldn't have happened in June because that was no June letter. It happened in Las Vegas on September 7th, 1996, when Reggie mentioned the letter, after Suge had called him and asked him where's Pac security when they hanging out, because Pac only had Frank on him, remember? So where's the other? I need 5 more security guards other than Frank. Listen, y'all. Other than Frank. And Reggie sent nobody.
Those guys, if you go back and watch the film, they was already stalking Pac, like watching him. So that just tipped the iceberg when something happened. But there was a plan already to do something to him.
Yeah.
And that's why, like I said, I had 2 of the toughest guys for him, and Reggie pulled them off of me. It didn't have to happen. I told him to send 5 guys from the club to there, and they never sent nobody.
And he had been denying all of this time that he even received the letter until Yasmin brung out the actual facts with Reggie's name signed on there by Tupac, as well as Tupac's signature on there. You get it? They asked for a little bit more detail. I'm coming with it. This is going to be a long video, but it's going to be factually based. And so, when you understand that, you understand the burden. You understand the complicity. You understand the negligence. You understand the insubordination. You understand the disdain and the hate at that particular time that Reggie Wright Jr. had for Tupac Shakur. Even so much so, Reggie was saying that he didn't get the letter. He said, because if he would have seen the letter, in which he did, and we know that he did because now he's admitting to it, if he would have seen the letter, he would have been like, fuck that nigga.
I can't say that I got it or didn't get it. I didn't get it. I didn't know about it. Because I sure would. I'm the type of nigga to be like, fuck that nigga.
But he seen the letter. And so therefore, that fuck that nigga statement that he made, it's in its proper context. That night in Vegas, Reggie was like, fuck that nigga. I ain't supplying that nigga with no security. He didn't have to. And I understand the personal look of it, of the fight being the fight and not being a death row musical event. But that wasn't Reggie's decision to make, because when Suge called him and told him to send 5 more security guards, he should have did it.
Pac, number one, he don't pay you no way. He ain't hired you no way. I hired you. I pay them. Don't play like that. So
you see, then they go after the situation, after the shooting. Then Suge is back at the house in Vegas, and Suge's trying to get to the bottom of it, asking Frank what happened, and Frank basically saying, you know, I told Reggie we needed more security anyway, right? So Frank not only said it, but here comes the passing of the buck once again. The passing of the buck now is, you know, when Frank points at Reggie as being the owner of the company, Reggie then, you know, basically, you know, pushes the blame off to the person who was allegedly on the supervisor that evening.
I failed because my security guard, and I have to take some responsibility of that, didn't call me and informed me what happened, and Tupac got shot and killed. Not while I was there, but while my security company was one of the ones supposedly fired. But we know that's this false statement, fake news.
Right? And saying that no one contacted him. Wouldn't it be the owner of the business who was in Las Vegas at Club 662 to know all of what, when, where, and who and how was doing what? Because he did talk to Suge when Suge asked him to send 5 more security guards and he sent nobody. You see what I'm saying? It's huge, man. It's huge. And people have been overlooking this for years. These are the facts. When you really truly sit down and understand and digest what it was. So Reggie lied. He tried to make the situation at the House of Blues the situation that actually happened in Las Vegas. From Suge asking, where's Pac security? He tried to make it look like it was at the House of Blues. No, that happened in Las Vegas on September 7th, 1996. That night, Suge said it. Right? The letter, we know for a fact, was sent on August 27th. Reggie is admitting to receiving the letter, but trying to make it look like it was in June, in and around the time of the Keyshawn Johnson draft party. We know that that didn't happen. It factually and mathematically couldn't have happened. We see the date of the facts with Tupac's signature on it. August 27th, 1996. So where would Suge be able to ask him, where would Reggie be able to tell him that Tupac sent him a letter just firing him? If Suge's asking, if Suge's asking Reggie, I need 5 more security guards, right? Where would Reggie be able to respond to Suge if the letter was received, if the fax was received on August 27, 1996, and Suge asking Reggie, where's Pac security? Where would that have happened at? Not June. If Suge's saying he's asking him to send 5 more security guards, it happened in Vegas. You see? Say men and women lie, numbers don't. That facts don't lie. At that time, that fax was as good as any timestamp that you could ever rely on. Period. Reggie didn't send no more security guards. And this is the thing that you got to understand. Suge didn't say send 5 security guards. Suge said send 5 more security guards, meaning that Tupac had Frank Alexander on him. He's just asking for more protection for Tupac. Because he said, as you can see, they were stalking Pac. If you go back and look at the video, that's what Suge said. And Suge also said that it didn't have to happen if Reggie would have sent more security. That's lie number 4, y'all. And that's the most disgusting one of all. Like I said, everything is documented for that situation right there. He hated Tupac. Fuck that nigga. Right? There you have it. So, you know, and then going and wanting to testify, right, in front of the grand jury and dealing with Keefe D and dealing with the Nextel radio. Think about that. That's that consciousness of guilt. Keefe D admitted to what he said his part was. Now, you know, like I said, I don't support that no way in killing Tupac or none of that. Or, you know, I wish they could have, you know, hammered it out a different way, man. Like you say, then, you know, with the head up or whatever, if that was what was gonna go down, you know what I mean? Or whether they could have talked it out. It didn't happen that way though. Right? But for Reggie to go and then testify in front of the grand jury and want Keefe D to be locked up so bad, it kind of alleviates a little bit his consciousness of guilt for the part that he played. You see? Keefe D stood on his. You know, Orlando never admitted to anything. You know, like I said, at the end of the day, and whether Keefe D was telling the lie or the truth, that's going to be up to the jury to decide in his court case. I don't come here to offer you none of that. That situation is going to play itself out based on the Keefe D statements, the words, and the things that he said throughout interviews. Right? And see, so then you go into, you know, the bigger picture is when you go into all of the other things that Reggie had did. When he told John to put up the check in regards to him having the Big Simon Says publishing company named after Suge's company. The question has never been asked, why would you name your company, your publishing company, after Suge's? The exact same name. Why would you do that when everybody know who Big Simon is? And why would Reggie lie about the money that he was getting from the Big Simon Says publishing, acting as if it was a large amount of money that he was receiving, like he was balling out of control? And when Gullible John forgot to redact the mainline item of the totality of the check that he was misrepresenting as being some kind of big money check from ASCAP. The check was for $115, y'all. John had forgot to redact it. Another lie. Just lie after lie after lie after lie. Right? So once you understand all of this, the lying about running death row, right? I showed you guys. I'm going to show you one more time. Look. Suge said Michelle A. ran death row. Reggie was a liaison. There's nothing wrong with being a liaison. Now he's claiming that he was general manager. He said he ran death row. That would be tantamount to interim CEO. You know, if you want to deal with it from that perspective. Right? But Suge said that Michelle A. ran death row. We know that for a fact. I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to tell you guys. At the end of the day, when you sit down and you really digest this, Reggie, and I just gave you the complicit nature in the facts involving the situation. Lying about the Gotham, lying about the Nextel radio, lying about where the Gotham statement actually happened versus whether it happened at all. Oh, it happened. Michael Moore said it. Reggie trying to put it in the club. You know, over loud music. If it didn't, no, that's not what he said. Notice that Reggie never ever wanted Michael Moore to be in the car with him riding to the hospital. If Michael Moore is in the car riding with Reggie at the hospital, and he's never said that. Michael Moore said that. He's never admitted to riding to or even acknowledge that Michael Moore was in the car. Why? Because it would confirm Michael Moore's statement about Gotham as being true. Michael Moore said they were doing what? We were about to get in the car. So if Reggie said, yeah, you know, me, Michael Moore, and the lawyer, we went and, you know, we rode to the hospital in Vegas. Does that make Michael Moore's statement true or more plausible? Absolutely. But I don't need Reggie to tell me that because Reggie lies so much. I don't need him to tell me that Michael Moore was in the car. Michael Moore just said it nonchalantly. You know, yeah, it's me and Mr. Wright were about to get in the car. I heard Gotham over the radio. And then I heard somebody else come back and say, you know, don't say nothing over the radio. So when you sit down, for all my intelligent people, when you sit down and really understand what I'm saying, these are just facts. Not nothing that I conjured up and made up and, you know, all of those things, right? The situation, trying to change the story about what happened in Vegas with Suge and try to make like it happened at the House of Blues. But when we got the facts, right, we knew that didn't, the only letter that came out was the one on the 27th, not in June of 1996. So that blows a hole right then and there. That's a material fact that what Reggie said was a lie. Period. And that what Suge was asking was the truth. Where's Tupac's security? Well, that nigga, he sent the letter firing me. When did he send the letter? August 27, 1996. When the Suge asking for the security? Why you ain't got, where's Pac's security at? Right? Where's Suge asking that at? In Vegas. And what else Suge asking him? Yo, send 5 more security guards. Well, the nigga, he fired me. He sent a letter firing me. And Suge telling him, well, you know Pac don't pay you no way. Suge is admitting that Tupac didn't pay Reggie at that particular time after being fired as Tupac's personal security. Suge is saying it. You know Pac don't pay you no way. I pay you, Reggie. And Reggie still didn't send security that night. This is Suge saying it, man. And Reggie Wright Jr. has been masquerading. So much so, he would call me names. He would call me names, groupie, gap tooth. You know, he would even insinuate that I was a homosexual. One of the most disrespectful things that you can do to a real man. And then when I started calling him names that were backed up by facts, that backed up by the 137 informant with the FBI and the dossier interview that he did, saying that he would openly cooperate and all they had to do was just call him. Because he knows that he told them that they know that he's an open book. All of those are facts. So when I was calling the name that I was calling him, right, he decided to file a lawsuit against me, which was a frivolous lawsuit, and he knew it. See, what he was trying to do was trying to get ahead of it. He wanted me to stop calling him that because it was true. And most of the people who listened and did the research knew it was true when they listened to the dossier tape. So it wasn't nothing that I came up with. Like, he started just calling me names out of the blue. Out of the blue. I didn't even really know who Reggie Wright was, to be perfectly honest with you. I'd heard his name, but I really didn't know who he was. Right? So when he couldn't win the war of words, like he's now calling Tyron Turner gay, you know, he's called Jamie Foxx gay. He's called everybody names. These are people that in Jamie Foxx, I would say he really doesn't know. I don't know if he knows Tyron Turner or not, but like I said, this is the ammunition that he uses, the ammunition of words and fictitious statements and, you know, rumors and things of that nature, right? In order to slander people. He tried it with me. He couldn't win at that. Because everything that I was going to come with came with facts, proof, documentation, his own words, right? You get it? You get it? And ultimately, the lawsuit that he filed against me was dismissed on both of our behalves. He didn't have a copyright paper, so it wasn't copyright infringement. That part was frivolous. So you file a copy. He filed a copyright paper. I mean, copyright infringement lawsuit against me, right, in federal court. But he refused to produce a copyright paper registered with the Copyright Office of the United States in Washington, D.C. Who does that? So immediately I knew it was frivolous, right? Then a defamation claim in the same lawsuit with a bunch of errors in the filing, if you will, right? So 7.3 meeting, everything gets squashed, right? It was frivolous to begin with. And like I said, these are the facts. So it was attack Delray, call them names. I'm going to get personal, trying to put personal information out on me. None of that mattered. This chess, it's not checkers. Everything as I've done as a man, I can stand on it. I'm not embarrassed by none of it, man. That's what made me who I am today. The good and the bad. The mistakes and the successes. all culminate to who you are as a man today. If you stand on that, integrity, character, and your word. And as we see from Reggie Wright Jr., none of those things even matter. He will say anything in order to get a view, in order to get a click, in order to get a like. But more importantly, I've just given you the facts in regards to the situation where Reggie Wright Jr. is complicit in the death of Tupac Shakur. Need I say more? Your boy Delray, straight game.